The elevator doors opened on the 32nd floor, and I stepped into the executive office carrying the documents my CEO had asked for, expecting another ordinary evening of spreadsheets, deadlines, and last-minute revisions. Instead, the moment I looked up, every thought in my head disappeared. Victoria Hayes, the CEO of Hayes International, stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window with her back toward me, and for once she wasn't wearing the sharp black suit that had become almost a symbol of her authority. She was wearing a deep emerald evening dress that seemed to catch the golden city lights behind her. The dress was elegant rather than extravagant, fitted perfectly at the waist and falling gracefully to the floor, while her dark hair rested over one shoulder. She turned when she heard me enter, and the confident expression she normally wore in the boardroom was replaced by something surprisingly uncertain. "Ethan?" she asked. I cleared my throat. "Yes, Ms. Hayes. You asked for the revised proposal?" She nodded, but instead of taking the folder, she looked down at herself and then back at me. "Do I look good in this dress for my date tonight?" she asked. For a second, I genuinely forgot how to breathe. My CEO was asking me for fashion advice. The same woman who could silence a room full of powerful investors with one raised eyebrow was standing there waiting for my opinion. I should have answered professionally. I should have said something simple like, "You look wonderful." Instead, my eyes remained fixed on her, and before I could stop myself, I whispered, "I can't look away." Silence filled the office. Victoria's eyebrows lifted, and then a tiny smile appeared on her lips. "You can't?" she repeated. I immediately realized what I had said. "I mean, the dress looks great." She walked closer, her heels making soft sounds against the marble floor. "That's not what you said." "I know. And are you always this honest with your CEO?" "No," I admitted. "Then why tonight?" I looked at her, suddenly aware that there was something different about the evening. "Maybe because tonight you don't look like my CEO." Her smile disappeared for a moment. "What do I look like?" I swallowed. "Like someone I would be afraid to lose." Her eyes softened, and for several seconds neither of us spoke. Victoria was 29, only a few years older than me, but the distance between us had always felt enormous. She was the woman who had built a multimillion-dollar company after inheriting almost nothing from her father except a mountain of debt and a reputation for being too young to succeed. I was her executive assistant, the man who had worked beside her for 3 years and learned every little habit she had, how she drank her coffee without sugar, how she tapped a pen against her desk when she was nervous, how she pretended not to care when something hurt her. I had also learned something I had never admitted to anyone, including myself. I was in love with her. Quietly. Completely. Hopelessly. Victoria looked toward the window. "The date isn't really a date." "What?" "It's a business dinner." She sighed. "My board wants me to be seen with Daniel Crawford. His family owns the investment group we're negotiating with. Everyone thinks I'm going out with him tonight because I need his father's approval for the merger." "And are you?" I asked. "Going out with him?" She shook her head. "I don't want to." But sometimes being CEO means smiling at people you would rather avoid. I placed the folder on her desk. "Then why wear the dress?" She looked at me with a tired smile. "Because I wanted to feel beautiful for once." Her honesty caught me off guard. "You don't have to wear a dress to feel beautiful." "Easy for you to say." "No," I replied. "It's not easy for me to say." She studied my face. "Ethan, what are you trying to tell me?" I looked away. "Nothing. That's the problem." She stepped closer. "You've been working for me for 3 years, and I know when you're hiding something." I laughed nervously. You know everything. Not everything. Her voice became softer. Not this. Before I could respond, her phone rang. She glanced at the screen and immediately sighed. Daniel. She answered, listened for a moment, and then ended the call. He's downstairs. Then you should go. She stared at me. Do you want me to? I didn't know how to answer. It's your decision. That's not what I asked? I finally looked into her eyes. No. Her lips parted slightly. No, you don't want me to go. I shook my head. I don't. She smiled sadly. Then why didn't you stop me? Because I'm your employee, Victoria. That was the first time I had ever called her by her first name. She noticed. Say it again. Victoria. She closed her eyes for a second, as if hearing her name from me meant something more than it should. I've wanted you to call me that for a long time. The tension between us became impossible to ignore. Then the elevator bell sounded. Daniel had arrived. Victoria stepped away and picked up her purse. I should go. Yes. She reached the door, then stopped. Ethan? Yes? If I come back tonight, will you still be here? I smiled. Probably. Good. She left. I stood alone in the office, staring at the closed elevator doors, wondering if I had just destroyed the professional relationship I had spent 3 years protecting. The next 2 hours passed painfully slowly. I tried to work, but every email blurred together. Around 11, the elevator opened again. Victoria walked out alone. Her heels were in one hand, and the confidence she usually carried like armor was gone. She looked exhausted. How was dinner? I asked. She dropped her purse onto the sofa. Terrible. Did something happen? Daniel proposed. I froze. What? Not marriage. She laughed bitterly. He proposed a deal. His father will approve the merger if I agree to become engaged to him publicly for 6 months. That's insane. Welcome to my world. She sat down. I said no. Relief hit me before I could hide it. She noticed. You look relieved. I am. She looked at me for a long moment. Why? I walked toward her. Because I don't want you marrying someone you don't love. And who do I love? She asked quietly. I stopped. I don't know. I think you do. My heart began pounding. Victoria, tell me. Tell you what? What you were going to say before the elevator arrived. I looked into her eyes. I was going to tell you that I can't keep pretending I don't have feelings for you. She stood slowly. How long? Years. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were my boss. Because I thought you'd fire me. Because I thought someone like you could never want someone like me. She shook her head. Someone like me? You're powerful, brilliant, successful. I'm just Ethan. She stepped closer. You're not just Ethan. Then what am I? Her eyes filled with emotion. You're the person who remembers my mother's birthday. You're the person who stays late when I'm overwhelmed. You're the person who knows when I'm pretending to be strong. You're the only person in this entire building who talks to me like I'm a human being instead of a title. I couldn't speak. She reached for my hand. And tonight, when you said you couldn't look away, she smiled through the emotion in her eyes. Nobody has ever looked at me that way. I meant it. I know. She squeezed my hand. That's why I came back. We stood there beneath the city lights, both finally admitting what we had spent years trying to hide. But there was still one problem. Victoria, what happens tomorrow? I asked. The company. Exactly. She nodded. I've already thought about it. She walked toward her desk and picked up her phone. Tomorrow morning I'll announce that you're moving to a different department and reporting directly to the COO. You won't work under me anymore. I stared at her. You planned this already? I planned it the moment I realized I was afraid of losing you. She smiled. I don't want you to be my employee forever, Ethan. I want you to be the man I choose when there are no contracts, no titles, and no rules forcing us together. My eyes filled with tears. And what happens tonight? She looked at the emerald dress and laughed softly. Tonight? Yes. She walked toward the elevator, then turned back. Tonight I'm going to ask you something very important. What? She smiled. Do I still look good in this dress? I laughed. Victoria, answer me. I stepped closer. You look incredible. She raised an eyebrow. Only incredible? I smiled. Beautiful. Better. She moved toward me, stopping just a breath away. And can you look away now? I shook my head. No. She smiled. Good. Then she took my hand and walked with me toward the elevator. For the first time, there was no CEO and no assistant, no powerful woman, an ordinary employee. There were simply two people who had spent too long hiding what they felt. As the elevator doors closed, Victoria rested her head gently against my shoulder. You know, she whispered, I never actually had a date tonight. I looked at her. Then what was the dress for? She smiled. Maybe I was hoping the right person would finally notice. And in that moment, beneath the glittering city skyline, I realized that sometimes love doesn't begin with a confession. Sometimes it begins with one simple question, one impossible answer, and the courage to finally stop looking away.